Hello and welcome to this episode of Focus On. Today, we get some more insight on the ownership structure of the Compagnie du Transguineen. British-Australian multinational Rio Tinto holds the rights to Simandou Blocks 3 and 4 through the Rio Tinto Simfer, which is a joint venture. Under the co-development arrangement, Simfer and the winning consortium Simandou will deliver separate infrastructure projects, and the rolling stock will be transferred to and operated by the CTG. Gerard Reinberger, the managing director of the Rio Tinto Simandou project, says a lot of negotiations were needed to set up the CTG and reach financial close.
2 years since we incorporated CTG. So in July 2022, July the 27th, we set the company up. But it was a company that required a whole lot of other negotiations to complete before it could actually come into operation. And so in April this year, we signed the last remaining documents with the government. And then in July, on July the 17th, we had what we call financial close, which is when the money changes hands and everything comes live. So since July the 17th, commercially it's been live, but of course since 2 years we've been constructing the project.
Yeah, I can imagine getting the partners to work together has been quite a task. And I'd like you to speak to that and the challenge, overcoming that challenge in terms of working together with a diverse group of this nature.
Every partner brought its own objectives. Rio Tinto is a publicly listed company, so we operate in a certain way. We are working with Chinese state-owned enterprises and private Singaporean enterprises, plus the Guinean state. So it's simple to imagine that every partner brought its own particular perspective. It's been a challenge, but the only way to conclude the negotiations is for everybody to move to the middle, and I think that's what we achieved.
I can imagine you worked in some difficult projects in your days. How is this project different from some of the hardest ones you have been involved with?
This is the hardest job I have ever undertaken in my life. And I don't think I would ever want to undertake anything more challenging, but the reward is worth it. What we can do here with Guinea, for Guinea, is unlock that real corridor of prosperity. 12 stations, 600 kilometres of railway, all of the frozen opportunity that today doesn't have a pathway for development. With this infrastructure, it can. And so I think yes, it's been extraordinarily difficult, but wow, we got there.
Yeah, because looking at the timelines, quite a lot happened in the past 3 years or so, 2 years thereabout. And I'd like you to speak to what changed that got this traction going.
So there are three keys to unlock Simandou. One is the co-development model, where we have multiple partners, multiple funding partners. No single company can pay for this, it simply costs too much. The second piece is transshipment. So the alternate methods to export the ore don't work. Transshipment has allowed that. And the third piece is the market. So the market wants premium quality iron ore, and Simandou provides that premium quality.
Yeah, because big things don't happen in your comfort zone. I can imagine looking at the size and complexity of this project, how has that challenged your thinking?
We always wanted high grade. And so Rio Tinto produces 330 million tonnes of between 58 and 62% iron ore and a small amount of very high grade from Canada. We wanted that high grade product to balance our portfolio because high grade presents that decarbonisation world where we can produce ultimately a tonne of steel with no carbon dioxide emissions. There is a pathway to do that, you just need very high quality ore.
Yeah, but I want to talk about political will and how you think that has also helped in driving the course of things here.
Political will. So the state has been single-minded in its strategic objectives through this whole negotiation period. So many things have changed, but the objectives set by the state did not change, and so the partners had to sometimes work around that. But that's what we've done.
What would you say about Rio Tinto's commitment to this project? 30 years kind of wears on you a bit.
Greenfield projects are hard. So yes, it's been 28 years since the first exploration concession, but 22 years since the first mining concession. And that's not unusual for resource projects around the world, whether it's iron ore or copper or any other commodity. Greenfield projects are hard, especially when you need so much infrastructure to build.
Yeah, but speak to the amount of innovation that came about in sorting the challenges here, especially looking at the logistics and overcoming the engineering challenge with the Simandou Mountains.
So we redesigned our mine to protect the critical habitat of endangered species. So the Pictophon classified forest is on the western side of our range. We redesigned our mine to put all of the infrastructure on the eastern side. We did that to protect the environment. So for us, the innovation came about accepting that there may be additional cost required to make those trade-offs to protect the environment.
Because working on projects of this sort, host communities then play a key role in how this is going to be, how it's going to move forward. Because taking a cue from Nigeria, we've had issues with big oil and gas projects where host communities were not properly compensated and became a problem much later. How are you working to address this area?
So the project has signed up to IFC performance standards. So those IFC performance standards define compensation. They also so fair compensation for land, but also compensation for loss of income, so income restitution. So that's the standard that under which the project will be developed.
Yeah, because in the panel, you talked about something that I really want to pick your brain about. You talked about collaboration and compromise, and you said to bring this project to reality, would you say that this could be a model for future mega projects going forward, having companies to collaborate in this nature and compromising?
Yeah, this one's got some unique characteristics. So for a start, the resource blocks were split in two. So we have one partner group developing blocks 1 and 2 and another partner group developing blocks 3 and 4, but both with the requirement to develop port and rail. So it is a model that can be used for other projects, but this one's a little bit unique because of its scale and because the resource is divided in half. So if you found another project somewhere in Africa where you had, for example, a few gold deposits in the same region, I could well understand that this kind of model could be applied for that.
Lawrence Deschambault, the Global Head of External Affairs at Rio Tinto, says that the Simandou project will transform Guinea and catalyze economic development and create a new future for Guinea. With 40% of the project already in construction, he further notes that the high-grade iron ore from the project will reduce carbon emissions in the steel industry by half.
This is really significant. This Simandou project is the largest mining project in the world, certainly the largest mining project in Africa also. It's a project that's going to transform Guinea. It's going to transform this nation, bring a lot of positive change, catalyze economic development, create new jobs, create a different future for this country. We worked very hard for 2 years to get to the point where we are today, 2 years of negotiations to establish the legal framework. And while we were negotiating, we already started construction, and we're about 40% of the way with construction of the project at the moment.
So let's talk about why this is also important for your Rio Tinto portfolio globally.
This project's absolutely important, not just for Rio Tinto, but for the iron ore industry in the world. The particular iron ore that we find here in Guinea is a high-grade iron ore, which allows us to decarbonize the steel-making chain significantly. So with the iron ore coming out of Simandou, you probably reduce by half the carbon emissions when you produce steel. And that's critically important in the world today and the future economy. So for us in Rio Tinto, we're absolutely committed. We want to bring this into our portfolio, make sure that we are also producers of minerals that help decarbonize the global economy.
Because when you look at the timeline and the progress that has been made, quite a lot has happened in the past 2 years.
Absolutely.
I'd like you to speak to what gave that traction that we're seeing play out.
So a couple of things. I mean, one is the commitment of the Guinean authorities. The president was really very keen for us to move very quickly. Second is the commitment from our shareholders, from our board, from our CEO, that also wanted to make this project a reality. And obviously the commitment from our Chinese partners, without whom we couldn't have developed this project. This is really a large partnership between Rio Tinto, a number of Chinese partners, and the Guinean government. And that has provided impetus for us to develop this project in record time.
Because I'd like you to speak around the amount of innovation that has come into to get us to the stage that we're at now. Because when you look at this, there's a huge engineering challenge talking about meandering through those mountains, the Simandou mountains there. I'd like you to speak to that and how this is being overcome.
So, this is being overcome through all of the partners bringing the best of what they know. So Rio Tinto is very good at building mines, also good at building infrastructure. Our Chinese partner has significant expertise in building infrastructure in Africa in challenging environments, and together just bring those two expertise together has allowed us to build this project in record time and to find innovative solutions to some of the challenges, engineering challenges that we find along the way.
Yeah, but for Rio Tinto, talking about the negotiations, and I'd like you to speak to, for you, what you say was the most significant part to overcome in the negotiation stage.
The most significant part to overcome in the negotiations at the beginning is always a little bit of distrust about motivations of different parties, but very quickly we overcame that. And I think the negotiations were carried out in a full spirit of partnership. It wasn't always easy, but that's negotiations. It's like that. But in the end, it was really always done in the spirit of the best interest of the country and the project.
Yeah, because looking at projects of this nature, a lot has to go with working with the host communities, and also there are quite a number of ESG concerns that have been put out there. And I'd like to know the work that has been done to address these issues.
So ESG is absolutely first for Rio Tinto. I mean, it's part of our 4 priorities as a group. Right? Our CEO always says that we need to have impeccable ESG in Rio Tinto. And therefore, we've put an enormous amount of resources to look at the corridor, understand the biodiversity around the corridor, understand the population dynamics around the corridor, the needs of the population there, how we're going to preserve the environment, and also to work with our partners to educate them as to how you bring in best first world kind of practices to managing the environment and the social dynamics.
With the first volumes of raw materials expected next year, the Simandou project is looking set and is expected to increase Guinea's GDP by 50%. I'm Kenneth Bomo. Thanks for watching.